Hello, my name is Tinsley Wilson, and this is my curriculum presentation. I teach middle and high school students FACS, which is Family and Consumer Sciences. I teach at Douglas High School in Marshall County. It's about an hour and a half from Athens. I teach a variety of courses throughout the pathway of Family and Consumer Sciences. I teach 7th and 8th graders basic life skills, interior design, family wellness and creative arts, food and nutrition, and food innovations and media to 9th through 12th graders. I decided to focus my curriculum for this course on food innovations and media. I decided to focus on this course because it's a new class for me and I was struggling with lesson plans. Here's a couple of pictures of things that represent what I teach. So I have this hanging up in my classroom, the Game of Life, because I am providing them with 21st century skills for their real life after they get out of high school, so education, finances, family, relationships, and careers. This is my process analysis. This is the first thing that I did in this class as far as assignment 1 goes. This process analysis provided me with a knowledge that I kind of already knew, but that enlightened my knowledge of that I enjoy problem solving and project-based learning. I don't think I would be able to be a FACS teacher if I did not enjoy project-based learning. Basically, I implement this type of curriculum daily with my students. I believe in CTE and in students learning content that they will use in their futures. I implement group work, projects, and problem solving in my curriculum as much as I can because this provides students with opportunities to showcase their knowledge of the content in a way that they learn the best. Some of the project-based learning ideas or activities that my classes do, we do hands-on learning. So for interior design, they created a room out of a shoebox, or in food and nutrition, we cook healthy items instead of just learning about them. Process analysis plays a role in the overall development of curriculum, I believe, by having a plan of how the teacher will implement the curriculum that they are planning. Basically what I mean is if the teachers know what they believe is the best way for students to learn, then it's easier for us to plan that way. This is my content standards analysis page, and basically I decided to plan my project on the curriculum of food innovations and media, the class, because it's a new class for me for this year. I did not teach it last year, so I didn't have any resources that I could easily pull up on my Google Drive. And I was kind of struggling because basically the class talks about the innovation of food. So where does your food come from? And we've kind of already nailed that in the head, as you would say, because there's just so much that you can talk about, where does your food come from? And then the other side, how does the media portray the food and the food industry? And so I was kind of just stuck for the third 9 weeks, and so I used this class as a way to help me broaden my understanding of food innovations. And so I decided to focus on 5 standards that I had not covered yet in my class, and so I also touched on 2 of the other standards. And basically the standards were all about the students creating their own restaurant, their own food inside of that restaurant. And so it was a way for them to use their imagination skills and for them to put all of their knowledge that they had learned throughout the year into a big final project. Content standard analysis provides information for the teachers to dig deep and figure out exactly how they will cover standards from the course of study. And here's just a couple of pictures that kind of describe what food innovations is all about. So it's like food for tomorrow. How can we create food that is sustainability and that is easier for the farmers to make? And so I kind of use this food innovation challenge as a way to let my students understand that this is kind of what they're doing, is they're creating something. This is my task analysis. This slide may be a little hard to read, and I'm sorry for that, but I wanted to include all of my tasks that I decided on. You may look at this and like, oh my goodness, she has so many tasks that she wants her students to do. However, after creating this, so I was following along with this class, with my Food Innovations class. So when I created one thing, that was the lesson plan for that week. And so when I created this task, I was going to be gone for a competition for my organization that I sponsor. So I knew they needed like a to-do list so that they could handle it while I was gone. And so that's why my task analysis is so long. So as of right now, it is taking us 4 weeks to cover these 5 standards into the curriculum that I have created throughout this project and throughout this course that I'm in right now. So some of the things is very basic, so they're only worth like 10 points or 5 points, and then some of the major ones is a little bit deeper because the days or the tasks that would take a couple of days, they got more points versus the days that would just take 1 or 2. I believe that task analysis benefits curriculum development as a whole by providing a way for teachers to come up with exactly what they expect students to do during a certain learning unit. And so what I mean by that is I uploaded this task analysis to my Google Drive onto my Google Classroom, so my students had this available to them so they could go in and like check mark. I've done number 1, so now I need to go number 2. And so it helped them stay organized and it helped me stay organized, because if they were sitting there doing nothing, I'm like, so you're done with all 13? And they're like, no, I'm on 3. And so this just helped everybody stay organized. This is my goals, outcomes, objectives, content, unit development, and then my instructional strategies. So I had this long table from assignment 4, but I didn't want it to be overcrowded on this Google Slides. However, this basically provided me a way to organize my outcomes, my objectives, my content, and my unit development. I had 9 goals for this learning unit. And if you look at that and you hear 9, you think that's a lot, and it is a lot, but this is kind of their big final project because we only have a couple of weeks of school left, and my classes are so mixed up that I have 1/4 of the class will be gone sooner than the other ones because they are seniors and they get out like 2 weeks earlier. So I wanted this one while they're still kind of motivated, like we're not in May yet, so they're not completely on summer. And so this is their last big project. So that's why I had 9 goals on this one. So this is like inverted triangle that shows like goals is the biggest, then you got to figure out your objectives, and then your outcomes. So I believe that goals, outcomes, and objectives, content, unit development provide teachers to plan with the end in mind. I was always taught you've got to plan with the end in mind, because if you know what you want your students to accomplish, then you can go back and figure out, well, what are your objectives and what are your goals. So my question is, like, basically when students leave your classroom, what do you want them to say that they learned? If someone asks them in the hallway while they're walking to their English class, well, what did you do in Miss Wilson's class? I want them to be able to tell them exactly what they had learned. So content, unit, and development slide. Basically, the content and unit development reminded me of a mix between a course outline and a lesson plan. I teach 8 different classes, so sometimes I fly by the seat of my pants, and so I wish I had time to sit down and type out a content and unit development page for every class that I teach, because this opened up my eyes so much. I love that it talked about the visuals, like what do you hear, and so it was just awesome to have all that information ready to go. So when I did teach this to my classes, or to this one class, it provided me with information that I needed. Content and unit development provides an opportunity for teachers to have the content ready and on documents to teach the students. My goal for the summer is to have content development pages ready for all my classes that I teach, because hopefully it'll make my life a little bit easier for next year. This is my instructional strategies. instructional strategies are the meat of the lesson. Basically what I mean by that is you may have this awesome lesson plan and you may have this incredible outcome of like what you want your students to learn. But if they're not into it, they're not going to remember it. Or if they think that it's boring, like if all you do is take notes, then they're going to zone out in like a couple of seconds. One of my undergraduate professors always said that you should not lecture over double of the age that you are lecturing. So for instance, if I have 10-year-olds, I should not lecture for over 20 minutes. I kind of cut that down and just do kind of like what their age is. So like if they are 16-year-olds, we're only going to do notes for 16 minutes or so, and then we're going to move on to another instructional strategy. Because you got to keep them motivated, you have to keep them moving, and basically we have to provide students with a new, different, and unique way to learn in our class. We should not stick to the same old because it's easy for us. Like it may be easy for us to just create a note-taking guide and give it to them and just talk about something, read it out loud, but that's not the thing that students are going to remember. For instance, today I taught like 32 7th graders how to crack an egg because we were going to make scrambled eggs and only like 4 of them had ever cracked an egg. So when they teach their children how to crack an egg, I hope that they say, I learned how to crack one in my FACS classroom. However, they're not going to tell their future kids, well, I took a bunch of notes in my FACS class. So we have to be open to try new strategies. I believe that instructional strategies tie all of these materials together to create great curriculum. I love this graphic that I posted because especially in the middle it says student, teacher, content. It should be that 3-way. It shouldn't just be teacher, teaching content. You've got to incorporate your students because if not, then it's not going to be a full circle. You're basically going to be talking to the wall if you're just focusing on your content. And you've got to learn what students, because your classes are so different. So maybe one loves questioning, but then the other class, maybe nobody would answer questions even if you asked them. But we've got to get to know our kids and learn what the best strategy to use for that class. I know I tried to use some materials from last year that I taught the same course, and I realized that I really can't because the kids are so different. And so we've got to figure out which one is best for our students that we have right now. And last but not least, the conclusion. This curriculum can be used by me, obviously, because I just used this curriculum. We just now cooked their final food product yesterday. And so, obviously, I will be using this, and I'll be using it for years to come because it is pretty good. And also, I provided my lesson plans to my fellow FACS teachers. I graduated and with my undergrad with 5 really close friends, so we shared a lot of materials to make everybody's life easier. And so I have also shared that, so it's going around Alabama right now. I've learned that I need to slow down and dig deeper into my curriculum like I have in this course. Like I said earlier, there's just like a whole lot of things to do in so little time between my 8 different courses, and I also sponsor a club who just won a state competition, and now we're trying to raise $9,000 to go to California. And so there's a lot of things going on, and also my husband works with me and I have to deal with his basketball coaching stuff, and so sometimes I get overwhelmed and I don't give my curriculum the time that it needs, but I've realized throughout this course that I need to. If I could do anything differently in my curriculum, I would not allow for so much time on this one unit. I believe this unit was great, but I don't believe we should have spent exactly 4 weeks on it. I can kind of get the vibe from my kids that they're ready to move on to something else. And so this is my curriculum presentation, and I hope that you enjoyed it, and I've really enjoyed this course. Thank you.